The leader with the why, the manager with the what, but then the extra secret sauce bit that I like is the coach.
Managers account for at least 70% of the variance in employee engagement scores across business units.
Anything middly is horrid.
27 million employees.
It's pretty much a privilege to be a leader, in my opinion, because you're affecting, you've got somebody's life.
Hi everyone, welcome to the podcast. I'm Adam, CEO of Kene Partners, co-host of Behind the SME, here today with Kate, and we're talking about a really interesting topic around the sticky middle. But before we get into that, Kate, do you want to give it a little intro?
Oh goodness, yes, hello, I'm Kate Waterfall Hill and I'm a leadership coach, and Adam very kindly invited me to co-host this episode and a few more, so looking forward to it.
Hot day for a hot topic.
Oh goodness, isn't it?
It is. It is. We've got a juicy one today. The episode title is called "The Sticky Middle,"
Oh,
which I
hate
think
everything about it already.
It's not a great title. But what we want to dive into the topic of middle management, which again is a horrible expression.
It sure is.
Is there a better terminology?
I've been struggling to find one because it explain what it is, doesn't it? You're not on the board, you're not the exco, you're not in charge, you're not C-suite, but at the same time you're not sort of, down and dirty in the delivery. Well, maybe you are a little bit, but you're in the middle, and it just is horrible, isn't it? It's,
Yeah.
Anything middly is horrid.
Yeah, and imagine if you are at that level
Yeah.
and your leadership team, senior leadership team, refer to you as middle management. How does that make you feel?
Yeah,
It's not nice, is
No,
it?
it's not great. It's not great.
So should we reframe? Should we offer a reframe?
I would love to, and as I say, I've been struggling with it for a while because a lot of the people I work with are middle managers, and I don't want to call them that. So, what do we do these days?
Ask ChatGPT.
Obviously. So here's the one I prepared earlier, and
Go
I
on.
did ask ChatGPT only a minute ago, and it has come up with some crackers.
Yeah.
Emerging leaders. It sounds a little.
Hello, I'm on the emerging leadership team.
Yeah, exactly. Then there's frontline leaders.
Yeah.
Sometimes team leaders, I can see that. People leaders, that might be appropriate. Cross-functional leaders, depends. Leaders in the middle, it came up with.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not good. And the worst one is, well done, Adam. You've been promoted to the leadership bridge between strategy and delivery. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Kate. Finally,
Put
I'm
that
part
on
of the bridge team.
Put that on the bottom of your emails. Maybe wear it on a badge. But yeah, it's mid-level leaders, operational leaders. These are what it thinks is the best ones. Yeah, it's not great.
None are good.
No.
I in my business, I call them the leadership team. It's kind of a collective terminology because I've got a board, I've got a senior leadership team, and then my catch-all for everybody with management responsibilities is just the leadership team. And I feel like it's quite grown up. You've then reached the leadership team. I think people like saying I'm part of the leadership team. But yeah, team leads works.
Yeah.
Team leadership, that works.
The tricky bit is if you only manage one person,
Yeah.
then it sort of falls down a little bit, and everyone's going, why are they called that? But I suppose the other bit about it is are we talking about a title here, or just how we talk about this group?
Yeah.
So I think when you're talking about the group as a leadership team, that works quite well. But I suppose if they're managers, then they're the manager of whatever they're the manager of.
Yeah, and I think the reason why we've picked this as a topic is because they are one of the most important components of a business, and yet have arguably one of the most challenging roles.
Yeah.
Their job generally is to translate strategy, which is set by on high, into behavior, habits, performance, and really do sit in that quite challenging middle position. I remember reading about a Gallup report that talks about those people setting the weather. Have you heard that expression?
Yeah, nice.
They set the weather, and there's really good data behind it. This was a big study, 2.5 million teams, 195 countries, 27 million employees.
Wow.
And it said the punchline from the report says that managers account for at least 70% of the variance in employee engagement scores across business units.
Wow. Yeah.
70%.
Huge influence.
So you can have the best culture, the best strategy, the best
Yeah.
plan, the best wellness package, all that stuff. But if you've got a crap manager, you're not engaged.
Absolutely.
Which actually, when you think about it, is really true, isn't it?
Completely. And what I think about quite a lot is how much impact your manager has day to day, and that's what I'm hearing from people who are interacting with my stuff on socials, which is, my manager makes my life hell, or my manager makes my day brilliant.
Mm.
And the thing I sort of say to people when I'm speaking to individuals who are taking a management position is that it's pretty much a privilege to be a leader, in my opinion, because you're affecting, you've got somebody's life in your hands. Certainly their career is in your hands, and their day-to-day well-being and how they feel about themselves is in your hands. So that's a privilege and potentially a bit of a burden.
Yeah.
But the thing that I ask people to remember is when your team members, so say you've got 3 or 4 direct reports, they go home and they talk about you, their boss, when they get home, and their kids will, and their other halves or their flatmates or whoever, their significant others in their lives,
Mm.
will know your name, and they will say, oh, their kids might go to school and say, oh, my mummy, my daddy's got a really lovely boss called Adam,
Mm.
or maybe not. And that's quite impactful, I think, when
Yeah.
you think about that, that people will, you have this sort of, effect, this ripple effect,
Mm.
not only on the people who work for you, but also on their families and their friends and their opinions of you. So it's important. That middle management bit is important.
Yeah, so true. And it's such an important topic. And would you go so far as to say, if you're running a small business and you're struggling to unlock performance or culture, but you haven't looked at that layer of people,
Yeah.
that would be one of the first places to start.
Completely. What you were saying before about disseminating the strategy, it's all very well, as the exco or the board or whatever, whatever your structure is, or even if it's just you as the CEO founder, you come up with a fantastic strategy, but actually how that it gets executed, how it gets delivered, how it lives every day
Mm.
is absolutely down to the management layer or the leadership team as you describe it. And the people need to, so often I meet CEO founders and I say, oh, do you have sort of vision for the company? Oh, yes, absolutely. We have a vision. Yeah. And I say, oh, great. Would you mind sharing it? Um, yeah. Yes. I'll just hold on a sec. They have to look it up on their own internet,
Oh,
on their
yeah.
own website rather. And I'm like, oh my goodness, if you can't remember it, you
Yeah.
can't say it, then how are your people supposed to say it? So, but sometimes the CEO founder does know it, and they go, oh yeah, I'm very passionate about this. And I say, how does that? And it'll be something very meaningful
Mm.
like excellence, or
Yeah.
all those sorts of phrases that people say, innovation and things like that. And I say, how does that translate into people's lives day to day? If I went and asked the person who was doing the delivery, what would they say? They
Yeah.
don't really know.
Yeah, it can be such a big bottleneck, can't it?
Yeah.
So, the plan for this episode, I want to pick your brains on what people get wrong, um, and some advice for how to get the best out of that group,
Yeah.
and also what some alternative routes are, as opposed to pushing your best people towards management, and just try and kind of unpack, for want of a better expression, it's a bit of Americanism, but it is what I want to do. Let's explore this whole topic and hope that people listening go, I think I've got a clear idea of how to improve that group's performance, and lift the whole business.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Um, I've got a couple of other stats that I want to drop on you. This was part of the same study by Gallup. It found that only 1 in 10 people possess the natural talent to be a great manager,
Hmm.
which I thought was interesting. And it said that 82% of current managers did not have high talent for the role, and the same percentage in the CMI's accidental manager report had never had any formal management training, which is wild.
It is, and it's certainly, I don't know about you, but I would definitely see that in reality. But going back to that one about only 1 in 10 people have the natural attributes, um, I get asked that question. Are leaders born or are they made? And I think there certainly is a certain element of leadership which is natural, a charisma, an ability to hold a room, public speaking, those sorts of things really, really help. But it's not everything,
Mm,
not but by no means. And there's so much to being a good manager, and most of it is actually about being a really good listener.
mm,
And people, they mix that up.
yeah.
They think, it's all about being a good orator, but actually, in my opinion, it's about being a good leader. So those things can be taught.
Yeah, yeah. I think if I look at my own business, some of my best leaders are the quietest,
Yeah,
but they're the most consistent. They really understand the business. They care about the people in their teams, and they work really hard and set really good standards. But put them on a mic in front of a room,
yeah,
they're not the most comfortable, and that's not what it's
not
necessarily all
necessarily.
about. So
No,
yeah, really common misconception.
yeah,
So let's talk about the tools and frameworks that managers need. And should we start by exploring management versus leadership?
yeah. That's a good one.
It's a good. It always pops up on LinkedIn. Managers do this, leadership do that. But you don't want to be exclusively one or the other. And there's another component, isn't there?
Yeah.
Talk us through this because I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, you're not, yeah, as you said, you're not either a leader or a manager. You need to be a little bit of both, and then there's another bit to it too as well. So, really, in really, really simple terms, in my view, the leader should be setting out that vision piece that you talked about before. Setting the strategy, the purpose, the common goal, the shared, oomph for why we're doing what we're doing, and the general direction. But also, the leaders are going to be looking at, the commercial side of things, finance, and that sort of stuff as well. And if they have an exit plan. So that's the leadership bit, sort of setting out the why is the simple way of saying that. And then for the managers, it's more about the detail, the what. So, what are the deliverables? What are the outcomes we're looking for? What are the milestones along the way? What budget might be available? What resources might they have? And being in charge of being able to delegate that to a team, but being quite specific in terms of the expectations. So the leader with the why, the manager with the what, but then the extra secret sauce bit that I like is the coach. Obviously, being a coach myself, I'm a big fan, um, and the coaching part of it is to ask, listen first, empathize, but coach by asking really good, pertinent, well-timed questions to evoke the answer in somebody else, so that you're giving them okay, what could you do? What would you do if you had no fear? What might your first next steps be? What would you do if I wasn't here? Those sorts of questions to get the other person imagining what the possible might be. So you're coaching the how. So you've got quite nice why, what, how.
And interesting. Just to clarify, the leadership explanation there around being able to talk through the vision, strategy, etc., even as a middle manager or
Yeah.
part of the leadership team, delivery leaders, whatever you want to call them, they still need that component. It's a triplet of skills that are needed.
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah,
and it's certainly not. I'm wearing my leadership hat today, so I'm only going to talk about vision.
yeah,
It's all at the same time. You're wearing all three hats, whatever level of management you're at.
yeah.
So, I mean, actually, even if you're not any level of management, still, you're hopefully the leader of your own life, as my friend Kate Winslet would say in the holiday film. My favourite line from any film: "You're the leading lady of your own life, for
Yeah.
goodness sake." And
Gumption.
yeah, 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 that's it. To influence positive outcomes, whether you're, whatever level you're at, if you're a, a solo operator, you still want to influence your suppliers and your customers and the market in general. And so those leadership skills are still necessary. So setting out the why there. So yeah, so setting out the why, the what, and the how are things that everybody should be doing all the time.
And so let's bring this to life. So your leader is in a one-to-one with somebody that's brought a problem or an opportunity, an issue, whatever it might be. Are you suggesting that on the other end they're kind of going, right, I've got three kind of approaches to this. Do we revert to kind of the big picture? And do I kind of flick into leadership mode? Do I flick into coaching mode, or is this a management exercise? You're saying they've got three tools to pull on, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. And so when you're delegating something to someone, the perfect way of doing that would be to explain the why. What's the purpose of this job that needs to be done? Then you're setting out what the deliverables might be, and then you're saying to them, "What's your first next step?"
Mm.
So you're doing that in one conversation, and it's not a sort of clunky, moving from one to another. It's just a seamless. Okay, I need to make sure I'm covering all these things, and then the other person comes away hopefully with that task delegated to them, really feeling a sense of ownership of it,
Mm.
so that it's not that you're allocating a task. You're actually delegating the outcome, delegating the ownership, the responsibility, the accountability, and then you'll find that people rise up to
Yeah.
do it properly.
I've got a model that I would love to share with you
Yeah,
and see what your thoughts are. So it essentially looks at the four stages of learning a new task, and the thinking being, if you start with coaching, it's kind of annoying on the receiving end of it. You're like, so tell me, what do you think you should do next? Like, I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
I'm new to this.
yeah,
So it starts with education.
yeah,
If you're bringing a new someone along a journey, it's like, let me explain the theory, the concepts, like let me transfer some of the knowledge which I have to you. Once you've done that, now let me coach you on an individual basis, on a specific case basis. Then I feel like you've got to grips with it. Now I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you on whether or not that was the right approach, or did you execute the way we discussed? And once we've kind of met those challenges and we're happy, then I entrust.
yeah,
So it's a nice like flow, and you kind of flick between them. So you might go, right, education, coaching, challenge, and trust. And once you're entrusting and you're kind of going, right, you've got this now. If you need to flick back a stage and you go, well, actually, they need challenging. Well, actually, then you flick up again because they failed a couple of the challenges. Right. Well, now we need to move back to coaching, and then actually maybe you go up all the way back to the start and go, let's kind of
yeah,
re-look at the theory here.
yeah.
And I think as a nice kind of framework can work quite well. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it reminds me of situational leadership, which is a theory that's been around a little while, and that similar sort of model, and it's quite complex for the leader, because basically the theory of that is saying you have to adjust your leadership style according to a couple of different things. One, the experience, tenure, and knowledge of the person. So you'd educate the new recruit,
Yeah.
or the person who's not done this particular task before. They might have been with you for a while, but you're changing their role, or giving them a new challenge. And then as they go through and they get more experienced, you change your leadership style, and it's the reason I'm doing that is because that's the curve in the situational leadership
Yeah.
curve.
Yeah.
And the tricky bit for leaders when you think about situational leadership as a model is that you have to work out who needs what when.
Mm.
And so that's quite hard. If you just, for instance, if you got really into coaching, and you really were exercising your coaching muscle, you're right. It might be frustrating for the person who doesn't know. So then you've got to switch roles, and who am I talking to today, and
Yeah.
is this something familiar to you? So the best thing to do is ask the question.
What do you need?
Actually, yeah,
Yeah.
what do you need? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
how can I support you without getting in your way? And
Mm.
if the person said, look, you can trust me with this. Okay, fine, good.
Yeah. Nice. So, what are the things that people get wrong in this whole world of bringing managers up and developing them? What are some of the common mistakes?
The accidental manager, the person that falls into management just because they're good at their job, and the pathway seems to dictate that's the next step up.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a really good salesman person. Let's make you team leader,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're rubbish at that. All you want to do is sell
It's
cars.
so common,
You
isn't it?
you don't want to do the
It's
do
so
the
common.
management and the worrying about people's appraisals and their holidays and things like that.
And do you find the hard thing about that is that those individuals will often they're driven by the title, perhaps,
Yeah,
and the kudos, perhaps the package that brings with it. That they want the LinkedIn plaudits, they want the kind of the PR, so they think that's what they want.
yeah,
But actually, it's very easy to progress them, and they get disillusioned because that role
yeah,
is not
yeah.
all they cracked up to
Yeah,
be.
I mean, I think there's a certain sort of human innate drive for progress. It's unusual for somebody to want to stay the same or go backwards. So we sort of want this sense of forward motion all the time,
Mm.
and often the only path for forward motion is a promotion to management, but it wouldn't necessarily suit everybody. But I think we're going to talk about some alternatives in a minute. But before
Mm.
we jump to that, wanted to just say about if you do promote somebody to a team leader, they're a great individual contributor. They've got a portfolio of 20 customers who they look after, for instance, and then they get asked to look after, 5 people in a team. The mistake that the senior leaders often make is thinking that they can do that without any extra training or coaching or without any extra time. So, oh yeah, you can carry on with your 20 customers and you can manage these 5 people, and that's really not realistic. I would recommend that that somebody gets at least 20% of their portfolio taken off them when they get given the leadership
To
position,
create space.
to create space. Yeah, so
Yeah.
they can spend some time thinking a bit more strategically, sort of, working through what the future might look like, doing some planning, and spending time with their team, most importantly.
And what do you think is the easiest win for that's going to resonate with so many people. I don't give my this really important band of people enough
Yeah.
coaching and training. Is it sign up to an e-learning course? Is it find them individual coaches?
Yeah.
Is it team training with an external person? What do you think is
Well,
the
I'd say go to somebody called Kate Waterfall Hill, obviously. No, in all seriousness, there are, I think that's probably, the people I come across say to me, I just don't know where to go.
yeah.
And it is really, really hard. And obviously, some of it depends on budget, some of it depends on time, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's not just a quick fix. I mean, I could say, this is my present to you,
Oh,
Adam.
oh, present. I
But
didn't know
get
you
my
got me a
book for all of
present.
your managers, and then they'll be able to know how to lead.
There you
Um,
go. Oh, that's so kind.
you're very welcome. Um, but yeah, it's some sort of training or coaching, and obviously, the LinkedIn is a good resource as well. There's lots of good courses on LinkedIn, but in my opinion, nothing beats individual coaching,
Yeah.
because that's where you get that, that safe space that you can really, really properly
You,
dig in and learn.
you got to give them the space for it, haven't
Yeah,
you? And
yeah,
encourage it, and I think people will go, I haven't got time for it, but it's an investment. Really is an investment, isn't
yeah,
it? When we talk about them setting the weather, that's that about 70% of engagement being influenced. It's a great investment.
yeah.
I've got a story actually that you might enjoy. Top performing BD, had been top performer for several years in a row, and the role of head of came up, and he was like, Adam, I think it's time for me to step forward. And I knew heart of hearts that it wasn't right. When he interviewed, he'd said, I just want a simple life.
Right.
I've been there, been a director, yada yada yada. All I want to do is just be on the road, being client facing. So I knew that, and I kind of challenged him on it. And he's like, no, I think I moved on a bit since then. So I drafted the role plan, which involved board reporting, one-to-ones, issue management, pipeline management, document reviews, all the stuff which actually goes into heading up a department. And I just put it in front of him and goes, well, there's the role plan. Let me know what your thoughts are. And he took one look at it and went, I think
No.
I'm all right, actually.
Yeah, ran for the hills. Yeah,
And
yeah,
it was he wanted everything that came with that role,
yeah,
except for the actual tasks. And
yeah,
we both knew it, but we
yeah.
would think it was just a funny process
I
to
think that
do
that
it.
quite often happens when you've got people who are client facing, and particularly business development, because there's something, isn't there? There's a personality trait in people who sell, that there's a rush, isn't there, of
Mm,
doing deals, getting things over the line, of closing stuff. But actually, the what seems to them as the minutiae of managing people probably hasn't got the same rush. I mean,
yeah.
for me, it has. I absolutely love turning somebody who was, maybe a little bit of an underperformer, somebody who's, you're a bit niggly about, they're not quite doing what you want, and manage, through the strength of your leadership and management, turning them into a star performer. That
Mm,
to me is like the best thing ever. But I can imagine that's what a salesperson feels like when they close a deal.
yeah. Yeah. I have to say I'm probably in the other camp.
Yeah,
I get the kind of gut like excitement feeling from finding
yeah,
a really great new client. I like maybe it's a stage thing, but I like managing people that are later stage in their career,
yeah,
and it's like they're so self-sufficient, but my job is to kind of challenge some of their assumptions and
yeah,
thoughts and direction, as opposed to the
yeah.
really day in, day out stuff.
Yeah,
I can't
and
handle that.
I imagine as well if you're talking about managing senior people, they're also challenging you a little bit, and that makes for an interesting conversation. That
Too
they're
much.
and you yeah, but they're also coming up with ideas and pushing you to the next stage of your business too. So that sounds like fun.
What about the perception that I think a lot of managers get wrong? You've been given a manager title, you've got your team to lead. On Friday you were part of the team, on Monday you're now the team leader. Whoop. And now there's this perception that they must know all the answers.
Oh yeah, that's an old familiar one. Yeah, the tricky bit. There's two bits to this. There's the bit where you're promoted over your peers, really tricky,
Mm,
and lots of people think they've got to sort of stamp their mark on it and stamp their feet a little bit and show them who's boss. But my encouragement to new leaders, particularly when they're taking over to be the leader of their peers, is to own that tension and to say, maybe on an individual basis, particularly if there's somebody else went for the job that you got, is to just say, "Oh, this is awkward, isn't it?"
yeah.
Sorry that I got the job that you wanted, but look, we're here where we are now. Let's try and make this work. What do you need from me as a manager? I'll try and be the best manager I can for you. I'll try and advocate for you,
Yeah.
get the resources you want, get you the training that you're after, whatever it is. But what I need from you is X, Y, Z. So it's
Yeah.
on
Just have
honesty,
the
hard work.
conversation.
Have the conversation and you
Yeah.
get
Don't change overnight.
yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So there was another part to that question.
Well, it's about saying, being quite comfortable saying, I don't know the answer.
Don't know the answer. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah. So often when people get given a management position, they think, oh gosh, that means I've got to be the know everything about everything. But actually, you can be a really good leader or manager of a team where they're technical experts and you're not, and that's doable. It's slightly more difficult because of course they can pull the wool over your eyes. Oh no, we can't possibly fix that bug in 3 hours. It's going to take 3 weeks. And if you don't know, then you don't know.
Mm,
But if you are able to give them the vision, give them the support, advocate for them at a higher level, help them with resources, whatever it is, you can still be a good manager of people without having to know the answers for them. And
mm,
actually, you can jump to lots of conclusions if you think you know everything, and you can identify or think you've identified the issue and come up with the solution, and everyone goes, oh god, right, okay, here she goes again. Actually, you haven't identified the right issue at all.
mm.
You haven't got to the cause of it because you don't know, because you're not in the delivery on the floor. So much better as a leader to say, okay, something went wrong here. What's the diagnosis? What do we as a group think happened?
Mm.
And what would we as a group like to change in the process or in the how we do things going forwards, and actually co-create a solution. Much more likely to have an outcome that's good, but also have an outcome that the team buy into and want to do because they
Yeah.
came up with it.
Yeah, it's about positioning, isn't it? Like,
Yeah,
let's gather around this
yeah,
as opposed to I'm above you.
yeah,
I remember promoting someone a couple of years ago, and it was really similar. Kind of, he was promoted beyond people that he'd started on the same day with,
yeah,
and the like. And he asked me how he should position it, and I said, you are then the advocate for that team. You're
yeah,
the representative for that team. You're almost coming to the leadership team, to the board, and going, "Hey, look, this is what we need. We need these resources. We need this."
yeah,
But in order to be able to do that, the team's got to perform. So, rising tide catches all boats. And if you can say, "Look, I want to be able to go to the board and, push for this and that and the other, but let's put in a really solid couple of months first,
yeah,
and then that gives us all of the tools to be able to do that, and I can go in with a really strong
yeah,
kind of arsenal." And it got buy-in from the team immediately. Like, you're not above us. Your boots on the ground. You're here to support us. You're here to help us. We're going to grow together. And actually, the positioning worked really, really nicely.
yeah,
And even the senior guys were like, "Cool, he's there just to clear my runway, make my life easier. He'll do the difficult stuff, and if I perform, we all win."
yeah.
And actually works really nicely.
Really nice. Yeah,
I think one of the big aims always from our episodes is to give someone a nice practical takeaway.
yeah.
Um, we talked about the importance of these middle managers, which is like a swear word.
I know. We got to think of something else.
Yeah. This wider leadership team. There you
Yes.
go. And I guess one of the solutions that should be suggested, is avoiding having the wrong people in those seats in the first place.
Sure.
You talked about how it's very natural to just put that progression pathway in front of people. And one of the takeaways that we spoke about was how you can create alternate pathways for people such that they don't all land in management. And I guess the thing that people can get wrong is if you don't create that, where do they go?
Yeah.
And let's take BD because I think it's quite easy. You have a head of, you have a high performer. If there's no other pathway and they don't want to be head of, but another business creates another pathway and a good opportunity for them, you're going to lose your best BD. You've got to create that track.
Yeah.
So I thought it was worth explaining some of the pathways that I created in my business
Yeah.
because it's something that I think we've done quite a good job of, and we recognized it quite early. And if you've got a scaling company with lots of rising stars, there's only so much room within a leadership team. So we created these specialist pathways. And one of the things that we did was be quite conscious about making sure that there was no kind of 2-tier or 3-tier to the pathway. Right, management is up here and every other pathway is down below.
No.
So that's in terms of the title, people do care about.
Yeah.
The package, people definitely care about, but also the amount of kind of um, uh, weight their opinion holds,
Yeah.
the type of clients they work on, just the kind of the whole framing of that role is really important.
Yeah.
And so people could get to a position where they're 10 years super high performer, but yet they don't feel like they're in a second camp to the board or the senior leadership team, and their package is, great and comparable to somebody that's perhaps up there. And it's worked really nicely. So we've literally made them as progression pathways, different titles, salary bandings, made it really explicit and transparent. And it's worked quite well. So we've got technical specialists, i.e., somebody that knows so much about their job that, but then don't necessarily want to just keep managing clients. They almost want to move into like a compliance role or a technical specialism role where they
Right.
can support somebody that has got a wider portfolio,
Okay.
can work quite well across all sectors. And then obviously the managers, but also the performance-led one. And also for us anyway, we've done another route whereby if you're not naturally in BD, actually there's a BD pathway because
Oh,
maybe you
okay.
want to go and get more involved in client-facing
Nice.
work and being a bit more of an advocate for the business, and stepping into that role and having some of those responsibilities, which actually has worked really well.
Nice.
Um,
Nice. And you mentioned before that part of the thing is that they need to be sort of considered the same level in terms of the respect and the voice they have.
yeah.
How do you manage that? What are they called, for instance?
So the titles will be things like senior,
Okay.
or which is basically the same title as our senior leadership team.
Right.
Um, and in terms of how we make sure they have a voice and a strategy session, they're going to be there. So
Yeah.
we don't just go, right, it's just the board and the leadership team. It's actually quite a wide pool.
Right.
So you've got those people that they don't necessarily want to be involved in every single week in, week out conversation, but their input's really valid.
Yeah.
So maybe we often invite them to the one at the beginning of the year, which sets up the plan for the year,
Nice.
and then normally the 6-month kind of check-in. So it's
Right.
not every month or every quarter.
Yeah. Nice.
But you give them a voice in kind of the town halls and alike, and obviously they carry quite a lot of weight 'cause it's a new voice to
Yeah.
the leadership team. So I think there's small wins that you
That's
can
really
have.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice. So giving us people an alternative view of what promotion and what a career pathway could look like. It doesn't have to lead to managing people if that's not their thing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just a great way of making sure you've got the right managers in the right roles, right bums on seats,
Yeah.
and you're protecting those great performers and actually playing to their strengths
Yeah.
and their desires,
Yeah.
to get the best out
Yeah.
of everybody and get most engagement and enjoyment from it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I wonder if I could just add in another thing that we haven't talked about that we were going to talk about, but
please.
maybe if we've got some either senior leaders who are listening to this or people who are middle managers and that they're struggling with it. They're struggling with being caught, that being, the whole term middle says that you're squished.
Yeah,
You're the sandwich in a sandwich where you've got your stakeholders putting pressure on you to deliver, often financial targets and that sort of thing, cost reductions, and then you've got a team saying we're under resourced, we can't cope, and the people stuck in the middle. I think it might be useful for us to have a little bit of a conversation about that bit. What should they do to help alleviate that pressure a little bit, because it is, we called this episode the messy middle, but we haven't really helped the messy middlers.
The messy middlers. Yeah, we
Yeah.
just said maybe you're in the wrong job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Go somewhere where you can be a technical expert and not have to do it. Yeah.
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 Well, go on then. What
Well,
advice would you give them?
I would say that they need to advocate for themselves in terms of losing some of their portfolio, or whatever their job was before, so they have time to manage, and being really clear about that, and also asking for training and development, because it's tough to be expected to do it. I meet a lot of CEO founders who say, "Well, I never got any training, and look at me, I'm a great leader," and I go, "Yeah, yeah, you are."
If you say so.
You are now, because you had coaching with me. But
Yeah.
so let's. I think the world has moved on, that we recognise that people do better with some expert intervention in terms of development stuff, but also giving them. I'd like to maybe let both of us explore how they could go to their leaders and advocate for themselves and for
Mm,
their team in a way that doesn't sound like they're whining.
yeah.
Because this is the thing, I remember when I was managing director of a marketing agency, it used to get a little bit annoying where you had people saying, "It's not fair, we're too busy," and or "I'm not working on the exciting clients and they are," and blah blah blah. So it's giving people some language, I think.
Mm.
So what would you like your middle managers to say to you? Well, not your middle manager, you call them a leadership team. What would the leadership team come to you and say that would make you listen?
Yeah, I quite like it when they try and set boundaries.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do like it when they say, Adam, when you do a full company day on a Friday before the end of quarter, it actually really interrupts our flow. And you
yeah,
go, good. I'm glad you told me that. I like that. That's
yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Um, or, we're kind of full capacity wise, projects wise. Let's just clear out what we've got before anything new comes.
yeah,
And just really nice, clear communication. And I will always, and in that instance, I think communication is a two-way street, right?
sure.
The way that lands is so important, and I feel like the reason they feel comfortable coming to me with that is because I've hopefully got a track record of going, I hear you, and I'm going to listen.
Yeah,
And if it's a safe space, then they'll do it. So yeah, I try not to jump down anyone's throats and go, okay, tell me, explain what are the capacity constraints? What are you prioritizing? And,
yeah,
and then able to go, well, actually, it's maybe not as important as you think it is.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think boundaries is the
It's a
is the
yeah,
message there.
yeah,
Like being able to communicate your boundaries
yeah,
and needs
yeah,
uh, is the key part.
yeah. Yeah, one of the things I talk to people about is making sure you're speaking in the language of the person. So for you, that clarity is important. So they need to know what their boss listens to.
Mm,
So I say to people, okay, think about what your manager or your next one up likes to know about. Do they like to know about cost savings? Do they like to know about increases in revenue? Do they like to know about people? Are they a stories, hearts and minds type person, or are they a facts, evidence, data type person? So speak in the language that's going to make them sit up and listen for a
mm,
start, but also to look at, say it's, we're over capacity. That's, often these days, everyone says they've got too much work. I can't think of anybody I've ever met who says they don't have enough in the last 5 years. And so I would say go to your manager and say, look, yes, my sense is that we're under resourced. This is the evidence. So maybe if you can evidence that, the pattern over the last 5 years, we've taken on more, we've lost staff, we've lost expertise. But also say these are the risks, and it's likely that there's going to be a risk of overwork on quality. So what might the risk be if you're lower the quality? It might be reputational risk, it might be losing customers, repeat business, that sort of thing. There's a risk to the time. We're not going to be able to deliver it in the time. It's going to, the deadline. We can do it, but it's going to take another 6 months. Or there's a risk to our people. We're
mm,
going to, they feel like they're being put upon, and they're having days off sick with well-being issues or mental health issues, or they're going to burn out and they're leaving, or they're leaving because they don't want to do it. So it's usually one of those three things. It's usually either quality, time, or people.
yeah.
So speaking in those terms and being really clear, and then giving people the option and saying what we could do is, yes, we could take on customer A, but we're going to have to
What's the
delay customer
sacrifice?
B or
Yeah, yeah.
project X or whatever. Yeah, and to sort of say yes, yes, and but this is
Mm.
the impact.
Yeah, I mean, the topic we're talking about is managing up, isn't it? It's a
Yeah,
horrible expression, but it is
yeah,
it is a skill,
Yeah,
certainly.
definitely.
And I think it starts with good communication. I think your point about going with the data and prepped, like
Yeah.
no one wants to be on the receiving end of, we just can't do it,
Yeah.
Kate, you know, and
Yeah.
you're like, okay, well, I need a bit more than that.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah.
What's the issue here, and what are the options, and what are the trade-offs that we're looking at?
Yeah.
And then we can make an informed decision together.
Yeah.
I feel like we might need to do like a follow-up on the sticky middle, because it's quite
Yeah.
a big topic, isn't
It
it? It's
is,
a
yeah.
huge topic, and
Yeah.
we scratched the surface of it. But I think we'll call time there. I think the practical takeaway, just to summarize, is there's lots of different options other than management, and give some real thought, I think, to how you progress people and have you got that right group. And when you've got that right group, put intention behind how you're upskilling them, because it's so important for every organization.
Nice. Great summary.
You're welcome. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Behind the SME. Certainly a really good topic to get tucked into. Hopefully you took some really useful points away. If you enjoyed it, there's plenty more coming, so don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. We read all your comments and we're happy to come back to you. So yeah, look out for more episodes coming your way.